Hello, welcome to a special episode of Set Musings. So, March of the Machines is due to be released on the 21st of April. The pre-release, if indeed that's what they're still calling them, would fall on the 14th. And this video is being recorded on the 9th for probably release on the 9th. So obviously bear all those in mind because they have implications here. If you don't like spoilers, then stop the video now. If you prefer to wait until the set actually comes out, maybe you like to turn up to, say, a pre-release, or your first experience of the cards is when you first handle them. So if this is before the 14th or the 21st, depending on when you're planning on getting the cards or getting your hands on the cards, then just bear that in mind. The other thing is, obviously, these have only just been recently spoiled, so there's a good chance there may be artwork here that isn't up to full resolution yet. That happens sometimes. And also, as with a lot of these set musings, in this case, it's the first time I've really seen the set, and also my regular ones, it's the first time I've seen the set for a while. So there's always an element of surprise, and these are never intended as, in-depth analytical analysis of the sets. They are really a sort of almost like a first impression, a feel as I slice and dice through these with the aid of MTG Wiki. I'm going to include links in the description, so if you want to read a bit more, and you can cover all the areas that I'm obviously not covering because I'm condensing like crazy to get this down to around an hour long. Also, there's a little bit of weirdness with these cards because of the inclusion of battle. So you'll notice that in certain views, again, the artwork's a little bit grainy, but we have to work with what we've got. So 291 cards in the set, and let me just, as I'm scrolling through, try and sort of break this down, because things, as we all know, there's just so much stuff now, and that gets reflected in the cards. So it actually says here, on MTG Wiki, they're talking about 281 regular cards. Now, the reason why it says 291 cards is on top of that you've got the basic lands, which we'll see in a moment. So once you factor in the basic land cards, they're 282 to 291. That brings up you up to 291. You've got showcase cards, although there's, I believe, some variation in the style depending on the plane of origin, and they're numbered 292 to 319, and we'll see those once we get down to that part of the this scroll, if you like. So 292 to 319. There's borderless planeswalkers, which are 320 to 322. There's standard legal jumpstart cards, which are 323 to 337. Alternate art borderless Praetor stroke sagas, and you'll notice there's a number of double-sided cards in here. So those alternate art borderless Praetor stroke sagas are 338 to 342. Extended artwork cards have the slot 343 to 380. Then there's dark frame treatment cards from the Universal promo packs, which are 381 to 385. There's a bundle promo, which is 386, and the buyer box card is 387. So battle is the new card type, And in here the subtype of battle is, I believe, siege. And you probably, as I've been chatting and scrolling, you'll probably, there's some more here. Now with this orientation, you'll notice that the resolution is the same as the other cards. When it gets rotated, which it does when you do certain searches on Scryfall, yeah, the resolution goes down a bit. It looks a lot grainier. You can see we've got some two coloured lands, which if you ever seen in my shorts, I've already had those appear in a short. I also did a short of the full colour artwork. So you can see here is 281 and then 282 to 291 are the full art lands. Here's our 28 showcase cards. So if we scroll down, you remember I said about you'll see variations based on the planes. So it's not a consistent showcase frame across all the cards. There's our borderless planeswalkers. Here are our jumpstart cards. Here's our alternate art borderless card. We've got extended art cards, where the art is extended out either side of where the artwork would usually be, but not totally over the, say, the rules text. But most of this stuff we're now used to seeing. This is a style certainly that gets repeated in sets. Here's our promo cards, which have the, what do they call it, the dark frame treatment. There's our buy a box. 387. Okay. And just so you can hear, it looks like, so the cutoff is 291 if we include the basic lands, the full art basic lands, and then everything else starts from 292 through there. And these are, you know, in terms of how these are marketed, released, you've got draft boosters, collector boosters, set boosters, jumpstart boosters, there's a bundle, and there's 5 commander decks as well. Also, and I would have skipped this quite easily, these are quite easy to miss. We have these multiverse legends. So this is a separate set of cards associated with March of the Machines, similar to the Mystical Archives and the Retro Artifacts. So yeah, let me just scroll down here. So March of the Machine draft and set boosters contain 1 Multiverse Legends card, and collected boosters have at least 3. They'll only be legal in formats where they are already legal in and in historic. They're not part of the standard environment, but if you obviously pull them in a limited event, they can be used. And you can see again with these, you know, the border treatments of these are, you know, quite varied. We've also got foil-etched cards as well. And you can probably start to spot with these certain cards which, right down here, are not in the set. So yeah, just more stuff. Although obviously with these now they've done so many iterations of different artworks, it does tend to remind you of other sets. Interesting. Okay, so we have within the boosters themselves, the draft booster part of the set, if you like, we have 18 cards which are reprints, and that includes those 2-colour life gain lands. It is interesting when I'm going through these. One of the reasons why I stumble at the terminology is there's just so many different types of cards, and it's trying to remember where all the cut-offs are. It's just really difficult. So that leaves us with 258 cards within that sort of draft booster grouping, which are new at this point in time. Okay, so let's try and do this. So you can see here we've got these are all the cards which, from a colour identity perspective, totally colourless. So no specific colours in the casting cost, no specific colours in any activation cost in the rules text. That's not to say they might not mention a colour, or they might say all colours, but in terms of casting or activation, no specific colour. Now, I like to always look at this as well. So anything where there's no colour in the casting cost, but within the rules text there might be a specific colour of an activation cost. There's none of those in the set. Monocolour cards where single colour in the casting cost, if there is any cost to an activation, it's in the same colour. So we've got 210 of those across the whole set. So for this one, what these are is anywhere where there's a single colour in the casting cost, but there might be a second colour, or there is a second colour, at least a second colour in the rules text. And you can see here we do have Phyrexian mana within activation costs. Also, I don't know if you can see that, and also might be the case where with these flip side cards it's one colour here, but we see a second colour on the transform side, and there's all sorts of different combinations here. So, but you'll notice, I haven't been through all of these yet, but it would appear that for those cards where it's like a monocolour on one side, you get one of the colours on the flip side and then the enemy colour with that, if that is indeed the case. It's not always easy to spot, but you can spot it through this colour bleed. So you can see here, there's that green into black, black into blue, is that blue into green? Actually with these ones, so blue, black, so those are actually allied colours, so yeah, just correct myself there. Yeah, some of these, so mixture, allied and enemy here. There is yeah, where I got confused there is when I went through earlier, I noticed there's a cycle of both types, I think, for different reasons as well. It's, yeah, you'll see this cycle-wise things get very complicated. Okay, so here, this is all the two colour stuff. So again, a lot of this is doubling up here. It makes the slicing and dicing on colour and colour identity a little bit more complicated, because you can see these double face cards. Yeah, have that where there's a two colour on the flip side, of which one of the colours is shared with the main casting side as well. And some of these sort of flip from what I would call, you know, a regular card, I suppose, cards we've seen up till now, and some of them flip from this battle siege into that sort of thing. So yeah, I don't know whether I didn't really go back through all the other sets where, you know, two-sided, sorry, double-faced is a thing, but there's a lot of that in this set actually. There's going to be a lot of flipping. Oh dear, a lot of people spending ages pulling cards out of sleeves and putting them back in the right way up, or depending how you choose to do it. And then you can see here we do have a few cards here which have multiple colours, which aren't because they're flipped, or because they're double faced cards. So nothing that's two colour and then the colour identity is more than two. Two colour in the casting cost and then the colour identity is more than two. And then these, which are you can see here, we've got some three colour stuff. We've also got some five colour, and then this weird five colour omnath with the black, with this alternate Phyrexian casting cost as well. We'll talk about omnath in a moment. Yeah, a lot going on here. So let's try and get some idea of the different creature types in here. I believe that there is sort of some Night Tribal going on and Phyrexian Tribal. So Knights in white, blue, Phyrexian, and again this is mostly, okay, so mainly in white, blue Knights, Elves black, green, and Phyrexian white, blue, but again you're going to see a little bit of bleed probably. So that's why I like to sort of go through the individual elements of the colour pie, so you can sort of get a better idea how things slot in when I'm doing these set musings. So you can see clearly here we've got some Phyrexian stuff, some cat soldiers. So it looks at the case where there's an awful lot of, what's the best term for this, like hybrid creature types. Also here we've got these legendary enchantment creatures in the set. More Phyrexians and humans. And I pointed out, I think earlier, the presence of Phyrexian mana options in activation costs. And then of course in the multicolour cards we get a number of different combinations. Yeah, there's quite a lot of multicolour stuff here, either because of this or because of this. So, yeah, and here's where it gets really confusing because the blue is on the other side. So, yeah. It's funny, I'd still imagine, if, I don't know, I just can imagine turning up for a pre-release and this is your introduction to magic. Yeah, I'd find it pretty intimidating myself, but maybe it's, I've got so used to looking at slightly mechanically simpler sets. So maybe people don't even bat an eyelid now. Okay, so what are we now? We're technically in black here. I'll just scroll through these slowly so you can see. I'm going to call, because there's just so many different combinations here, and we've got a dragon over here as well. But you can see there's a lot of Phyrexian stuff in here, just scrolling through. The reason why these are here is because there's creatures on the other side as well. So. Interesting. Yeah, you're probably noticing, I think they're calling them team-ups as well. So moving on to red. I suppose the nice thing with this is the way Scryfall sorts it. If you sort by colour, those double face cards rise to the top. Yeah, see, we've got some Phyrexian stuff in red as well. And again, some of these hybrid creature types are hybrid because they represent two different legendaries as a team up. And you can probably guess there seems to be some quite unusual team ups. Okay, so what are we on to now? We are technically on to green. Sword Beast. The other thing that makes me wonder, all these individuals that have spent a lot of time and effort into producing like online resources, and you've probably seen the ones I use, when they put out sets like this, some things must be quite difficult to modify the site to be able to deal with it appropriately. I mean, maybe there's already stuff in place, but certainly they're filtering stuff. Like, we've now got battle, so that needs to be added at the very least. It's funny. Does anybody get echoes of what's that sci-fi horror film with the shimmer in it? Annihilation? Does anybody get echoes of Annihilation in here? Okay, big spells. Now, I don't think I'm going to get wrong fitted by any of this because it's not the case where it's split cards. So we get cards ending up in here by mistake. So yeah, that's all the big spells. There's also a cycle of larger spells, I think above, is it 5 mana? We'll take a look at those. Oh, this looks a lot better than it did this morning, actually. This is, yeah, maybe because I was looking at this on a laptop. These look super grainy, but these are much better on the screen I'm capturing this on. So if we scroll down here, you can see, so this is the new card type that we wouldn't have seen before in sets. This is battle with a subtype of siege, which suggests that maybe we're going to see in future sets other battle cards with a different siege. And you can see here it says, as a siege enters, choose an opponent to protect it. You and others can attack it. When it's defeated, exile it, then cast it transformed. When invasion of Balanon enters the battlefield, create a 2/2 white and blue night creature token with vigilance. And so if this triggers, and of course this is going to look weird because when it sorts these and they're all together, it's round this way. But yeah, I'm not going to flip all of those. That would drive me crazy. Make my eyes go funny. Yeah, so as long as you can see there, that's what happens. They flip into those. I mentioned about a Phyrexian theme, so I thought it was worthwhile at least isolating those cards. So this is any card where it has Phyrexian in the type. And of course that doesn't also mixed in amongst all of that, you would get cards with Phyrexian mana. I haven't screened specifically for that, but yeah, that's part of the theme as well. So you got 61 of those, I think I said. Across, let me just see what this is across. Monocolour into multicolour into artifacts. There are a couple of these cards which have defense counters on them. So that's a new thing. I mentioned the fact that there's loads of double face cards in the set. Some of which are these, into a saga, some of these battles which go into that, some go into other creatures and so on. Yeah, a lot going on, very busy. Something called backup. So let's look at a backup card and compare one to another. So backup 1, when this creature enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. Notice, it's a +1/+1 counter. I'm not sure how much like adding counters generally there is in the set beyond that defense counters. Let me just flip back to that because I'm curious if there's an interaction there. Yeah, it doesn't specifically say. Where I'm getting curious is I wonder if there's a proliferate type thing in the set. I haven't seen it specifically mentioned where it just adds counters on generally. These defense counters are counters that are used to track the defense of battles. Connected to battle cards and represent how much damage attacking players need to win the battle. Battles then to play with the number of defense counters printed on their card. They lose defense counters corresponding to damage dealt to them. So let me just go back because I probably didn't specifically mention this. So this is this here. This is his battle counter. So yeah, I suggest reading up on this at some point. Oh, sorry, did I call them battle counters? I meant to call them defense counters. I misspoke. Where are we? Yeah, so back up. It's back to this. When this creature enters battle, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. If that's another creature, it gains the following ability until end of turn. So you can back up yourself, or back up the creature can back up itself. So here, the number indicates the number of counters. Again, I'm just curious here whether we've got any specific stuff that like sort of self-synergizes. So I might gain something in addition to the counter because the counter's put on there, but I don't think I see that here. Convoke. So your creatures can help cast this spell. Each creature you tap while casting this spell costs one or one. Or casting spells first the one or one mana of that creature's colour. Okay. So it's not always the case, but you'll sometimes notice that. Not surprisingly, a lot of these have fairly high casting costs, but you get a pretty splashy effect if that's the case. So incubate. Here's one. Create an incubator token with 2+1/+1 counters on it, and 2 transform this artifact. It transforms into a 0/0 Phyrexian artifact creature. So the first bit here, it's got whenever a sense of orthodoxy or another Phyrexian enters the battlefield under your control, incubate 2. So you have the trigger, and then you can see the counters here are tied to the incubate value. There's 30 of those. Don't mention incubate somewhere. And I wonder if there's any just incubate facilitators here, or things that mention incubate without doing that, if that makes any sense. Sometimes you get those artifacts that say give this card incubate, or give it something. Right, so we are finally onto the cycles for this. So we have a cycle of Praetor Sagas. So this is the point that I wanted to specifically look at the flip sides. It's just easier when you've got them grouped into cycles. So we've got 5 mythic rare Praetors with sagas on the other side. The third parts of each saga were designed to resemble the power of Planeswalker ultimates and transform the saga back into the front side Praetor, which I don't think we've seen before. Another cycle. Complete Generals, 5 rare monocolour legendary creatures with an off-colour Phyrexian mana. So these have enemy. Hang on, that's not right. 5 rare monocolour legendary creatures with an off-colour Phyrexian mana. Oh, it is right. It's all right. getting ahead of myself here. I'm thinking ahead of what I'm speaking. So yeah, so there's the off-color. No, hang on. Off-color Phyrexian mana, activated ability that can transform into a more... Oh, off-color, sorry. Yeah, it is. So off-color. Using the term here, yeah. I don't know why they didn't say allied colour, but there you go. So not the colour of the casting cost. Each of the transformed Phyrexian sides allude to a powerful Phyrexian card from the past. So there we go. So, wow, what was that? Was that 9 and a... Yep, 9 and a green, or 9 and 2 life. Okay. Yep, so if you've not seen these before, I'm sure most people have seen Phyrexian mana by now, but if this is the first introduction to the set, excuse my tummy, so you can pay for it either by using the colour in question or 2 life. Gold transforming complete uncommons. So there's 10 of these. 10 uncommon gold frame creatures with an enemy colour Phyrexian mana activated ability that can transform into a more powerful dual coloured Phyrexian version. So there you go. So these are at these ones are at common. There's 5 of these. Similar sort of concept. And the gold colour that they often refer to as cards being gold colours, because historically multicoloured cards had this gold border, but you'll notice you only see that on the flip side of the card. Same with these. Now, there is also some rare invasions. So there's this set within the whole battle type, siege subtype. There is a cycle of rare invasions, and they all have invasions of something. But what's weird is, and you'll see this a lot, so far where we've seen this with the uncommon ones and the uncommon ones where there's effectively 10, so you've got 2 lots of 5. There's actually one missing here. So you'll notice that instead of there being 2 in black, there's only 1. But you'll notice as we go through this, and maybe you spotted it before, there's an invasion of Tolvada in here, which is actually a white-black card. So yeah, invasion of Tolvada. Gonna see if I can bring that up by editing this on the fly, so you can see what I'm talking about. Should probably be down the bottom. There it is. That one there. So we've had the rare invasions. There's also 10, this time there is 10 siege battles at uncommon. And you can see they flip over there, but we won't do that because it's definitely making me dizzy. That way round. I can handle it the other way round, but not this way round for some reason. So enemy colour hate. So 5 uncommon cards that hate on enemy colours. And they don't, they're not two-sided, they're not double-sided. Double-faced. Two-sided, double-faced, double-sided, two-faced. Whatever. I think these are called type cyclers. So each of these common creature cards have a mana value that is greater than 5 and may be cycled for 2 for a land with a basic land type. So plain cycling, island cycling, swamp cycling, mountain cycling, forest cycling. I don't think you see that much. I mean, there's a few sets where that was a thing, but yeah. So specific types of land, specific types of land and cards that I'm mentioning. And remember, of course, we're used to this being in reference to certain basic lands, but there are, I don't know in this set, we'll have to see, but you'll often find there's some non-basic lands that reference a particular land type. Not all of them, but some do. So, ooh. These are mythic rare team-ups, so 5 mythic rare wedge-coloured legendary creatures representing unlikely allies from the same plane teaming up against the Phyrexian invasion. Rare team-ups, so we've got 10 of these. Same sort of concept, unlikely allies, they're just rare, teaming up against the Phyrexian invasion. So that covers all of the 2-colour combinations. The previous ones were 3-colour, they were wedge, these are the 2-colour. Then we get on to our 10 signposts. So 10 uncommon dual-coloured cards, each a signpost for a draft archetype. And these are uncommon. Not all of them are creatures. There is one enchantment here. I'm going to see if I can rattle off the limited archetypes here. So we've got Night Tribal, Graveyard Matters, Sacrifice, Battles. You can see Battle is also mentioned on cards. I don't think I pointed out that before. +1/+1 counters, Phyrexian Tribal, Convoke, Incubate, Backup, and Transformation Matters. So you can probably get a feel as well how some of those 2-colour combinations might mesh quite well to produce like a 3-colour strategy. Some more than others. Now the other thing they've done, and you see this occasionally, they sometimes double up the signposting. So in this set we've also got 10 uncommon dual-coloured siege battles, and they also act as a signpost for a draft archetype. And You can see we've got the two colour combinations here, and as you notice they are all invasions. There's our life gain tap land, so 10 of those. It's funny now with these, the style of the artwork is interesting. I think you know what I might be talking about. This is a bit strange as well. So you have these rare invasions. This is a mini cycle that's been flagged up on MTG Wiki. So these mythic rare. So there's actually 3 mythic rare invasions. So 3 monocolour mythic rare siege battles. White and blue are instead represented together in Invasion of New Phyrexia. With Tarifi on the flip side. At least that's what I've got here. So there you go. But what I did here is I chose to bring up all 5 of the mythic rare invasions, but there's sort of 3 mini cycle, and there's this sort of odd one here as well. What does that flip into? Artifact creature construct. Right, to make life easy for me, I've cheated a bit here. So these are the match pairs. So we've got a couple of match pairs of battles here. We've got these 2 match pairs, Zephyr Singer Ancient, Imperiosaur, Archpriest of Shadows and Doomscar Warrior, Knight of the New Coalition and Preening Champion, and then Ichor Drinker and Placid Rottentail. The other thing I do want to flag up is we have a couple of cards which complete mega cycles. So we have this Omnath cycle, which is completed by this card, the Wooburg Member. I think that's actually a 4 card cycle. Then we have one of these, which is a Sword of Once and Future. It's the Mirren Sword cycles, the Blue-Black Member. And there's several sword cycles, but this is the Mirren one. Or at least 2, I think. This is one of them. And if you're curious, I don't know how much people watching this do use. There you go. I use that tagger quite a bit when I'm doing these episodes. Don't use it for everything, as you can see, because sometimes I'm curious about just doing the searches, which help with me describing what's going on. But sometimes when it's difficult to do, I'll use these taggers. There isn't one yet for this, I don't think. No. But I did do a YouTube short with the Omnath cycle. So 20 mythics in the set, and you can see, yeah, there's a number of battles which we've already seen. $15 basic lands. So what that means is there's 1 each of regular artwork and then 2 each of full art. There's our non-basic lands, and they're the only, they're the only non-basics in the set, that cycle. They're all at common, so you should probably see those quite a lot if you're cracking packs. There's our planeswalkers. This one, it's on the other side. Here's our legends. And for these cards, the legend is on the flip side of these cards. So let me just do a bit of a slow scroll here so you can see what's going on. So, another one where it gets a little bit confusing. So we have these, so there's a load of enchantments here. Some are flip-sided, some are in combination with the battles as well. You'll notice, but also I just want to highlight this again. So these siege cards, and these are on their side. So well, the other side is on its side, so I'm not going to flip them. But I wanted a reason why I'm back on them again, even though we've sliced and diced them a few times, just to clarify. You'll notice that they are all invasions in there, so they're all invasion of something. So it's going to be interested on the namings going forward and what sort of battle subtypes we see here. We have some auras in here. You can see, I think most of them enchant a creature. We've got an enchant land here, an enchant artifact. And here's another place it gets interesting. So, as you've seen already, on the flip side of these Phyrexian Praetors, there are sagas, and they are the only sagas in the set. That's another load of enchantments as well. That's why I left them out. It was a little bit too much. We have 5 artifact creatures, and again, that's the one, that's where that one's hiding. Equipment wise, there's 8 pieces of equipment. You'll notice as well, some of this equipment, in fact probably most of it, has like coloured mana in the casting cost, and this one is on the flip side of a battle siege. There's kite sails in the set, and the sword that we already mentioned, and in amongst our regular artifacts, which are on the flip side. In addition to these just usual artifacts, you can see, in fact, there's one and one on the flip side. All the others are either legendary artifacts of some description, or we got a vehicle. There's a couple of vehicles actually. $39 instants. You can see there's several here that have, looks like Convoke a few. There's some modal stuff, exiling stuff. Yeah, Convoke, some Surveil. In amongst the usual things. So interesting how they staple together some of this stuff with the sort of things you see in these colours at instant speed. Have we got any interesting 2-colour spells? No. 2-colour instances. Yeah. But a number of Convoke instant spells help bring that price down when you're casting. Bring the cost down. Slightly less sorceries. And we've got some modal stuff with incubate. So we're seeing some incubate stuff here at sorcery speed. More Convoke. Some mill there. Some hand disruption. I'm sure you can spot the removal in red. Okay. Destroy target artifact, battle, enchantment, or creature. I do like the way green smashes stuff. Or creature with flying, yeah. So for these, the sorceries are on the reverse of the battle cards. Okay. Good to know. Back to the whole set. I don't think I need to add anything really. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff going on here. Right, again, I always say this with a new set. I would take these prices with a pinch of salt, because we're talking about stuff pre the release, pre-release. So yeah, these prices could change quite considerably. We're going to see obviously the alternate art bubble to the top. So we've got stuff here around almost $60. It's an interesting style of artwork actually. So around 40, 35, yeah. So no doubt all of this stuff up high is going to be the alternate artwork, which does mean that potentially it could bring down the regular artwork, although not the case here. And again, this is at the moment, it is $3 cheaper. We've seen sets where there's a really massive difference between the two, but again, maybe that'll happen, further on down the line. For a lot of people that buy singles, there's like a sweet spot after the set's been released. Is that when's a good time to buy singles at their potentially lowest price? Unfortunately, I can't tell you exactly when that is, because I don't really follow the secondary market. But yeah, if you're interested, it is worth looking into as to when that happens. $20. So I think going by previous sets before they've been released, it's probably going to be quite a few cards before we get down to below $10. And normally this will go over a couple of pages, or over onto the next page. So you can see it's hovering around 16, 15. You can see some of these, there is a version which is below $10, not all of them. Now we're getting onto the battles now. Oh, a lot of the legendary creatures in here. I suspect people are already experimenting with them in decks.
Proxy.
Yeah. So oh, there we go. So looking at the stuff that has not been reprinted, the new stuff. So yeah, you can see, no surprise here, a lot of the legendary creatures are bubbling to the surface. And of course, yeah, we're on EDH rec ranking now, so am I going to be able to go in? I'm just curious as to, yeah, the deck count's going to be pretty low at this point, I suspect. I don't know how soon, for instance, this has been spoiled, and and then once that's done, then people will start building decks on EDH rec ranking. So again, I wouldn't place too much on this, but it's always interesting to see already what's starting to bubble up there. And no doubt it's going to be biased towards legendary creatures. But let's have a look at the reprints. So we've got Negate in the set. Yeah. And of course there's all those life gain lands. So when we mesh the two together, I suspect we're not going to see the new stuff until down here. I think everything else will always stoke the flames, yeah. So, and again with the newness of the set, that makes a lot of sense. So currently, with a set that's not released yet, Thalia is top of the pile overall. So not just as a commander, but just as a member of the 99. And just looking at other things associated with the set, as you know, I don't usually do. Well, I won't be doing a Commander Fodder episode or a Friday artwork video to go with this. This is like a self-contained. These are self-contained episodes for new stuff for the moment. Once I catch up with myself, it's possible I might end up doing Commander Fodders, but I've got ideas for other Commander-based episodes as well. So I think going forward, definitely you can rely on me to do at least a set Musings episode for new sets. So, but like I said, I'd like to just look in passing to see what else there is. So I mentioned Commander decks. We've got Jumpstart. There's Welcome Boosters. There's Multiverse Legends. What's this art series? What do they? Oh yeah, okay. So the Commander deck side of things, there would be here 5 commander decks. Within the commander decks you often find there's cycles as well. So we've got a Phyrexian focused deck, a night one. You can see here's the new cards listed. Oh, the other thing to remember with this, I nearly forgot. There's plane chase stuff in here. So yeah, knights. How could I forget? So that's a specific feature of these commander decks. +1/+1 counters is another deck. What's this one? Convoke themed stuff. And artifact tokens. Yeah, so these are all your planar cards here. So yeah, so Commander Plane Chase mashup. It says much here. It's a special feature. These Commander decks feature plane chase cards. Each deck has 5 new plane cards, 4 reprint plane cards, and 1 reprint phenomenon. But, you know, you don't have to use the cards. I don't know if... I suppose it depends whether there's any cards in the deck. And this isn't really an episode about the Commander cards. But I don't know if there's any new cards in here which necessarily mention planes. Now, is there also a planar die in here? It's a special dice. So there's a life wheel and a special dice, so that must be the planar dice. Oh, 1 collector booster sample pack as well. Okay, so there we have it. Hopefully that was helpful in terms of just giving you an overview of the set, and of course all the new cards therein, and all the reprints and the alternate artworks, and yeah, crazy times. Thanks once again for watching. Bye for now, and I will catch you in the next video.